Hollywood has had its fair share of unique faces, but none like Robert Zidar. It is so utterly unique, so undeniably memorable, that it carved its own legend into the very fabric of cult film history. A jaw so powerful, it became his trademark. You saw Robert Zidar once and never forget him. With a look that could stop a train and a career spanning over 120 films, this man's life is a rollercoaster of danger, laughter, and secrets. But how did he go from being a Chicago cop to becoming a B-movie icon, known around the world as Maniac Cop? June 3, 1950. In the gritty streets of Chicago West Lawn neighborhood, Robert James Darsky enters the world, a Lithuanian-American kid with dreams bigger than the city itself. Young Robert had a perfectly normal face, until his late teens, when his jawbone began expanding. Born with a rare condition swelling his jaw into that iconic, almost supernatural look, Robert was destined to stand out. This medical condition, affecting only about 1 in 100,000, gave him a menacing edge that Hollywood would later crave. But as a kid at high school, he dreamed of music and football, not fame. Early in his life, Zidar was in the band called Nova Express. Robert was a keyboardist and occasionally handled vocals. They even recorded an album. There are unconfirmed fan reports and second-hand interviews claiming Nova Express once opened for REO Speedwagon and possibly Styx, both of which were also Midwest-based and on the rise during that era. While jamming with his rock band in bars, clubs, and college venues, rumors swirled that a talent scout spotted him not for his vocals, but for his jaw. It set him on path to Arizona State University, where he earned a BFA and played football like a champ. Most actors rely on their acting chops, but Robert, his chin did half of the work. Late 1970s. Robert, now Zidar, is chasing roles, his jaw a double-edged sword. He once worked as a Chicago police officer, giving him a real-world grit for his later villain roles. Leaving the police force for the unpredictable world of acting is a leap of faith for anyone. His journey into acting wasn't an overnight sensation. It was a slow, difficult climb marked by countless auditions and the perpetual struggle for a newcomer trying to find his place. Auditions were a battlefield. What most people don't know, he initially tried to hide the jaw. In his first acting gigs in the early 80s, he would ask directors to shoot him from a certain angles. But then, in a twist of fate, his flaw became his biggest asset. Casting director began calling specifically for the guy with the jaw. How did it all start? Robert's real break wouldn't come from casting call. It came from a chance bar fight in Hollywood that almost ended his career before it started. This is a story told with a wink, often repeated by people in the B-movie circle. Robert Zidar was at a bar in Hollywood in 1984 drinking with some stunt guys when a fight broke out. Someone threw a punch and Zidar caught it. Not dodged, but actually caught it. The commotion drew the attention from a low-budget director sitting 2 stools down. That director? William Lustig, the man who would later cast him in Maniac Cop. Well, as entertaining as it sounds, this story is nothing but a tale from dire fans. Lustig and Robert first met in audition room, not at a bar. Another story tells of him trying out for a gritty crime flick, Flesh and Bullets, 1985, one of his first films. The director loved his look but demanded a fight scene test. Zidar, untrained then, threw a punch so wild he nearly knocked over the camera. The crew laughed, but he got the part, a sign of things to come. His early roles were often bit parts, where he was cast purely for his imposing physique. He would be the heavy, the bouncer, the menacing presence in the background. Imagine walking into an audition room, a giant of man with that unforgettable jaw, trying to convince casting director that you would be more than just a type. Legend has it that during one particularly frustrating period, after a string of rejections for roles he felt he could truly inhabit, Zidar nearly gave up. He was at the crossroads, questioning if his distinct look, which should have been his greatest asset, was instead pigeonholing him into an endless cycle of anonymous henchmen. One story suggests he once showed up to an audition for a romantic lead, not because he genuinely expected to get it, but purely to challenge the casting director's preconceived notion of what a leading man should look like. He didn't get the part, of course, but he definitely left an impression. The turning point, however, came, as so many pivotal moments do, through an unexpected encounter, a chance alignment of stars that would forever alter his trajectory. The world was about to meet a new kind of boogeyman, and Zidar was unknowingly on a collision course with destiny. The year was 1988. Director William Lustig and screenwriter Larry Cohen were cooking up a new kind of slasher film, one that traded masked psychos for a vengeful police officer. They needed an actor who could embody relentless menace without saying a word. They needed a presence. They needed Matt Cordell. And then Robert Zidar walked into the room. Lustig reportedly saw Zidar and knew instantly he had found his killer cop. He was a ready-made horror icon. Zidar's face, sculpted by nature, provided the perfect canvas for a monster. Critics, while often dismissive of the genre, could not deny the impact of Zidar's portrayal. He was publicly praised for his imposing, memorable performance, with many noting that his unique appearance made him perfectly suited for the role of the indestructible killer. The film didn't just give him a job, it gave him a brand. The Maniac Cop was an extension of Robert Zidar himself. What is little known is that Robert was dealing with a debilitating back pain during filming. He had sustained an injury years earlier and he never told the Maniac Cop crew. He would finish brutal stunt scenes, then collapse in his trailer. Makeup artists would have to reapply prosthetics because the sweat ruined everything. Still, he refused to quit. During one of the night shoot, a stunt gun run saw Zidar's massive frame crash through a prop window, landing him in a heap of glass. He shrugged it off, joking, "I'm tougher than the set." In 1989, Zidar joins Sylvester Stallone and Kurt Russell in Tango and Cash, playing the menacing Face. Fans loved his brief but intense scene time. Some say Stallone requested Zidar's personally after seeing Maniac Cop. His performance as Face, also known as Conan, the henchman with a steel jaw, was met with applause. By the way, Stallone allegedly challenged Zidar to an impromptu arm wrestling match, betting $500. Did Zidar's strengths win, or did Sly rig the table? Too bad no footage exists of how it went down that day.
You broke that jaw?
You deserved it.
With Maniac Cop establishing him as formidable presence, Robert Zidar's career exploded, particularly within the independent and direct-to-video film circuits. He became a prolific actor, often appearing in a dozen or more films a year. He moved seamlessly from the outrageous actions to the supernatural horror flicks. In 1991, Zidar auditions for Samurai Cop, a so bad it's good gem where he plays Yamashita. The audition was a riot. He arrived in a leather jacket, jaw-jutting, and improvised a sword fight with a broomstick. They cast him on the spot, calling it pure Zidar magic. His incredible work ethic was legendary. He was not afraid of the grind, the long hours, or the challenging conditions of independent filmmaking. Zidar was known for his incredible work ethic and for being a professional on set, regardless of the film's budget. This prolificacy, however, came at a cost. The physical demands of playing so many imposing, action-oriented roles began to take its toll. Beneath the unyielding exterior, a quieter, more vulnerable aspect of Robert Zidar was slowly being chipped away, hinting at a hidden battle few knew he was fighting, and a surprising talent waiting to be fully revealed. The image Robert Zidar presented on screen was often one of brute force, of silent, terrifying resolve, but off-screen a very different man emerged. Those who worked with him, those who knew him often spoke of a gentle soul, a kind spirit, and a man with an unexpected range of talents that extended far beyond cinematic mayhem. Remember his early musical inclinations? While difficult to definitively verify specifics, it is often rumored among indie film circles that Zidar would occasionally entertain cast and crew on set with impromptu musical performances during downtime, lightening the mood amidst intense shooting schedules. One of the whispered about titles is Future War II, a supposed sequel to the notoriously bad Future War 1997. Zidar had a supporting role in the original. The film gained notoriety after being featured on Mystery Science Theater 3000 for its low-budget effects and offbeat energy. In the early 2000s, a draft treatment for Future War II circulated among micro-budget distributors. It listed Zidar as a returning villain. The sequel was shelved after investors backed out, allegedly due to legal disputes involving rights to the original. Whether Future War II even made it past the pitch stage is unknown, but fans still trade that rumor like collectors trading lost tapes. Zidar kept acting till his final years, when he made an unlikely return to the character that started it all. In the early 2008, whispers of possible Maniac Cop 4 stirred excitement in horror circles. In a 2012 interview, Robert Zidar confirmed he had been approached to return as Matt Cordell. Fans at conventions were buzzing. He was older, visibly frail, sometimes walking with a cane but still flashing that devilish grin. "They wanted me to do a force one," he said, "but I've got 2 metal hips, a bad shoulder, and I'm recovering from a neck cancer. I couldn't do the stunts anymore." Even so, he signed autographs, posed for photos, and reminded everyone why he was a fan favorite. But fate had other plans. Just when the legend was about to return, the final curtain came down. In March 2015, at age 64, Zidar passed away from cardiac arrest in Florida, days after appearing at a fan event. He signed dozens of autographs that night and stayed past midnight to take pictures. One fan recalled, "He looked tired, but he said, 'I owe it to the fans. Without them, I would be just another guy with a big chin.'" In an emotional turn of events, it is rumored, though difficult to verify definitively, that Zidar had always harbored a quiet desire to play a truly sympathetic, non-villainous character. Perhaps a wise elder, a mentor, or even a comedic role that fully utilized his gentle nature. He wanted to break entirely free from the monster archetype to show the world the full spectrum of his acting ability. He never got that singular, mainstream dramatic role that might have shattered his typecasting. His films might not always have graced the silver screens of grand cinemas, but they found their home in the hearts of millions of fans who understood and appreciated the magic he brought to every frame. Robert Zidar was not just an actor, he was a phenomenon whose legacy will continue to loom large in the history of cinema, a permanent fixture in our nightmares and our dreams. Zidar's legacy isn't just about horror or that infamous jaw. It is about persistence, about turning what made you different into your superpower. So the next time you see a B-movie on late night cable and a hulking shadow steps into frame, take a closer look. It just might be Robert Zidar. You will never forget his face, but now you know the man. Thank you for watching, and we will see you soon.
I don't know. Sometimes I think you have to be born with this.